Hello everyone, I'm Elizabeth Shaw and this channel is all about the Narcissistic personality disorder to give you more understanding of what you've been through, who they are and different ways to recover from narcissistic abuse. This video is a question I get asked a lot and it's, can a narcissist ever change? Now, psychologists and researchers suggest at the moment they haven't found one that has changed. The narcissistic personality disorder is on a spectrum, so there is those that will never change. Most can do and do so on a temporarily basis to meet a need of their own, and those who can, if they want to alter their patterns of behaviour, they do alter their patterns of behaviour. But it's usually just that temporary change to meet the need. Most are capable of changing on a permanent basis, however, it wouldn't be very easy for them to do so. They have a personality disorder. They don't change or lose that disorder. That is who they are. Yes, they can change their treatment towards others, but to do so on a permanent basis, it would take hard work and be extremely challenging for them. What they can change is, and they do change, they change their lies, they change their patterns, they change their history, they change their reality. You cannot pull the disorder out and change someone into someone new. Now, what I mean by when they change their patterns is you will notice they follow a pattern. When you sit back and observe what they do, they have a pattern. They don't usually tend to sway off that pattern, but what I mean is they change their pattern. Like 1 minute they will play nice, then they'll go into the tantrum mode, then they'll go into the silent treatment mode, then they'll go into the sulky mode. So they can change who they are to fill that need and to meet that need as and when it suits. They cannot change or heal their narcissism. However, they can change their behaviour, and plenty do so. You've seen it yourself, how 1 minute they are so nice and the next they are so cruel. How they have treated you so badly and now they're trying to treat you so nicely. The problem is once their need is met at any given time, they are straight back to who they need to be if a need isn't being met. The tantrums come out to play with hideous effects on those around them who care for them. The problem has never been that they cannot change. The problem is they do not want to change on a permanent basis. They've not hit that pain threshold where they understand that they need to alter something. They run from the pain rather than facing the pain. They've built big walls to protect themselves. Often for some of them it's because they went into the fight mode as a child, one of the human's go-to survival mechanisms. They've closed off to people's feelings and only think of how best to serve and protect themselves. They were either not born with empathy, they have extremely low levels of empathy, or they shut their empathy off because of something that happened within themselves. Or they never developed that attachment system, so they can't attach to other humans on a deeper level. Not developing that attachment to care for others in moments of disagreements. Their insecurities run deep. Being able to admit their faults, their own faults, to learn from past mistakes of bad behaviour would take them great courage. Deep down, most are weak and rely upon the fear of others to keep power and control, crossing in between, charming people in and then creating fear to keep control over others. Opening up to past behaviours of things that they have put other people through does not match their ego and their superiority. The conflict this would cause within themselves would cause massive amounts of emotional pain. They also do change realities, and they change realities so many times that most believe their own version of events. Deep down, they are stuck in the woe is me with many hidden secrets. They do not very often feel the guilt emotion, and if they do, it'll only be in a temporary moment and then projected onto someone else. If they feel the shame, that will also be quickly blame shifted onto someone else so that they can remove the feelings of shame from within themselves. In order to change, people have to recognise the faults that they have within themselves, recognise their insecurities, recognise their failings. We all make mistakes. We all fail sometimes, but we recognise them and get up and go again. We have to acknowledge them. We have to accept them. We have to see if we need to change them, because if you change one thing and you can then change everything for you. But the first step is recognising what you want to change, what you need to change, and what you need to accept about yourself. As a narcissist blames those around them, they can change the people they associate themselves with, slowly losing trust in others, slowly believing they've ended up in the same situation because of who they are with and nothing to do with themselves. It seems the older they get, the more hurt and pain they cause to those around them. Most do grow old and end up alone. Finding a therapist strong enough to help them without falling for the lies and the charm, being able to listen and try to help someone when what they've done to others is so hurtful and sometimes out of this world, to explain that to a therapist, and you need a strong therapist to be able to listen to everything that they've done to people. Once a narcissist would take the journey to know who they truly are, they could then potentially resume some levels of empathy, but they would need to work incredibly hard and most simply do not want to, only temporary to meet a need of their own. The narcissistic personality disorder is not curable as yet. It's not treatable as yet. If the person is willing to acknowledge, accept and work on themselves, which unfortunately, as they are never accountable, don't see problems within themselves, have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, low levels or no empathy, deeply hidden levels of insecurities, a sense of entitlement, arrogance, a need for power and control, expectations of special treatment, prone to putting others down to fill their own needs up. There's an awful lot of work that they need to do, and all of it goes against who they believe they truly are. As they are unwilling to accept any weakness or accept responsibility, it's extremely difficult for one to get therapy to truly help them. They'd have to have an extreme shift in their beliefs and their realities and their personality as a whole. One method that could be used is relearning behavior, but it's an extremely harsh lesson, and finding someone who'd want to do it, as it's extremely unethical, isn't really a method that could potentially, it would work, but trying to do it is not ethical. Relearning behaviours. So, like elephants in a circus, it's cruel and it's not advised. At some circuses, baby elephants are dragged away from their mothers, often still nursing and often have ropes tied around them. They are punished for any types of instinctive behaviour until their spirit is broken. They become submissive and obedient for fear of punishment. They are dominated and trained either from being chained up to when they are allowed to sleep, when they are allowed to eat, to physical violence. Eventually, when they are let off those chains, they've lost all instincts to who they truly are and are left with learned behaviours. Those partners of children or narcissistic people are brainwashed into confusion. The difference between realities and beliefs causes cognitive dissonance. Living in fear. Most people just give up and give in. So that's how they train us, by brainwashing, through gaslighting, through projection, through the blame shifting. Now, For example, if a narcissistic person was aggressive towards their partner and they had a dog that bit them every time they did, that narcissist would not enjoy being bit by a dog. Most narcissistic people would most likely take it out on the dog, unfortunately, because they can be extremely cruel to animals also. But if that was to happen over the period of a year, they would learn that they don't like that pain when they receive it back. They don't like receiving that pain, and that would shift their pattern of behaviour. Until something major happens, for those that have been with narcissistic people, one affair out of many, one punch, one simple word said, people don't tend to leave and pick themselves back up. There's an awful lot that happens. There's an awful lot of reasons why people stay within these relationships. And then there tends to just be one moment where it just actually, the pain becomes that unbearable. It's time to get up and leave. If you could get a narcissist to be willing to agree and to sign up, the fastest method would be to inflict physical pain. If every time they hurt someone, they had to taser themselves, they'd soon learn it hurts and would soon stop. To break long-term bad lifetime habits, to break addictions, all humans need to be accountable within themselves, accepting that they need to break the addictions for themselves. They would have to have a valid reason for doing so. They would need serious consequences if they go back to the addictions. Now, can a narcissistic person change? Yes, we can all change if we want to. But it's not easy to get that change. You have to reach that pain threshold. You have to get so sick and tired of being sick and tired to make the effort to change something. And you've got to stop blaming those around you and start looking within and to find the things that you need to change for yourself. And narcissistic people have pushed down all their insecurities, all their fears, all their weaknesses deep, deep down and created an alter ego on the outside that they portray to other people to keep themselves from that deep hidden pain, those deep hidden traumas. Now, psychopaths, they're different. They are born that way. Sociopaths take it to that next level. But for a narcissistic person, those on the low end of the spectrum would find it easier to change than those on the higher end of the spectrum. But then again, saying that, those on the higher end of the spectrum do usually have a bit more awareness of what they are doing. Those on the lower end are a bit more impulsive. So yes, they can change. The simple fact is they do not want to change because they do not see themselves as the problem. They see all others as the problem. For those that have been with narcissistic people, it takes an average of 7 attempts to leave, depending on the person, depending on how long they were in the relationship, and so many other factors. At some point, there becomes something that just clicks and you just realise that there is much more to life. It is a road to recovery and it is baby steps each and every day. You might take a couple back or a couple to the side, but you do just have to refocus and go again because you can and you will. Now, we have to dig deep and find our own insecurities. We have to face the pain. We have to deal with the emotional pulls, the emotional ties, the trauma bonding, the anxiety, the CPTSD. And there is an awful lot to work through. But once you do start working through it, once you do start building through it, life does become much easier. Once you start getting control of your own state of mind, your own happiness, you'll realise there's much more out there to life than clinging on to the hope that the narcissist that you met and the narcissist that you ended up with will change back to the one who you met. Because even if they did manage to change within themselves, they would not be the person that you fell in love with. And most often by the end of the relationship, it's not even love that you feel anymore. It's the trauma bond. It's the releases of the cortisol and the dopamine from the highs and lows. You are breaking free from addiction, and you can and you will break free from that addiction. Anything in life is possible as long as you've got the willpower, the want, the need, the desire, the fear, the pain, the challenges to go and get what you want for you. Thank you for listening. Bye.